Yeah. Time get litty.
Hey, Juan, run it up.
Nah, for real. Yeah. Said we just came to party. What's a Hennessy? I need me a Barbie. Rolling up my weed. Good cushion, alcohol. That's the remedy. Look, we don't follow protocol.
Hello, hi, what's good? My name is Kyra, if you didn't know, and if you did know, then welcome back to my channel. So literally today I'm doing a full set on myself. It's French tips. I've never done French tips on myself, so I was high-key struggling, but it's okay. You know, this is not a tutorial. It's definitely just like a watch me do my nails with me type video. I will explain what I did, but again, it's not like a tutorial, but you'll get the gist. I definitely finessed it at the end. If you peeped at first, I had to cut my nails down, and now I'm filing them down. So after filing, you definitely want to dust all the powder away, and then after you dust the powder, you can see I'm pushing down my cuticles. So when you're pushing down your cuticles, you want to do it in a circular motion. That's going to lift up all the cuticle off your nail bed. Whatever you do, you definitely don't want to skip this step, because if you leave any of the cuticle on your nail bed, it's going to cause lifting, because the acrylic is not going to be able to adhere to your nails, because you're going to have like the barrier of cuticle in between. So after pushing on the cuticles, I just use the other side of the cuticle pusher. It's like a little pick, you know, and I'm just digging out any like dirt and dust that got underneath my free edge. Again, you don't want to skip this step, like for sanitary reasons, and then also like it looks nasty underneath acrylic, like it just doesn't look appealing aesthetically. Okay, so boom, now we got the sanding band. You want to use a fine grit sanding band. Listen to me, fine grit. Do not use a coarse sanding band on your natural nails. So what you're actually doing in this step is just removing the shine from your nail plate. You don't want to go too ham on this step because you don't want to thin out your nail bed. I'm going a little bit harder than I normally would just because I had a press-ons on right before this, so I still had glue left on my fingers, but definitely go gently and lightly for this step. Also, if you don't have a cuticle bit, you could use your sanding band around the cuticles a little bit, and it'll lift up any of that like dead cuticle that you couldn't get with your cuticle pusher, so you don't have to use your nipper. So after that, again, you gotta dust, and then I'm gonna start gluing on my tips. I'm using extra long C-curve tips, but honestly, I'm double tipping them because they're not long enough for me. With the C-curve tips, I like to push down the sides, like by the sidewall, just to make sure that the tips are like adhered properly. Okay, this little shake thing I do after I put the glue on the tip is just to make sure that the glue doesn't slide down the length of the tip, because sometimes it can do that and then you get glue all over your finger instead of on your nail bed. As far as double tipping, I just do the same process I do when I glue the tips onto my nail bed. I just put the glue onto the nail tip and then I put the tip onto the other tip. I don't put it directly like at the very tip top of the tip. I put it kind of in the middle, but like the middle top, if that makes sense, just so that way the width matches all the way up. I also don't rough up the nail tips with my sanding band, but I don't have a problem with them adhering or sticking to each other. But if you do have that issue, definitely rough up the tips with the sanding band, just so that way it has a better surface to stick to. But alrighty, so now I'm just cutting them down a little tiny bit. I didn't want them that long. I mean, I could have done it. I would have done it, but I didn't want it at that moment. Now I'm just using my hand file to file the shape a little bit. Honestly, with these C-curve tips, they're already kind of the shape that I would want. I just wanted them a little bit more narrow. And because I double tipped, I just wanted to make sure that it was a seamless blend in between the two tips. So during this step, I like to get this shape like an 80 out of 100 on the perfection scale. Just because, of course, you know, when you apply acrylic, it messes up your shape a little bit. So I don't want to try to make it the perfect shape before I apply acrylic, because then after the acrylic, it won't be the perfect shape. So like I said, I like to get it like 80%. Alright, so boom, I'm adding Bonder, which is like a nail dehydrator, and then I'm adding some Young Nails Protein Bond, which is a primer slash like dehydrator in one, but I like to use them both. Also, I fan it because I like to add 2 coats of the Protein Bond. So in this step, I'm getting a decently sized bead of my nude acrylic. And for this set, I'm using Birthday Suit from Glam and Glitz. And I'm placing it right where the tip meets, like, my nail bed. See, like I said, this is kind of a struggle set and not a tutorial, so I can't even really explain what I'm doing. But I'm trying to make the shape that I want my smile line to be. That's kind of why I did 2 nails off camera, because again, I was struggling and I just wanted to see if I could even do it all myself before I tried to play myself on camera. But once the acrylic is like half set and half still wet, I'm like trying to kind of mold it again into the shape that I want my smile line to be, so that way it'll be easier for the next step. This finger was easier for me because I took a larger bead, so definitely I recommend taking a large bead. And don't worry too much about the cuticle. That was my other problem. I was trying to get it all in one bead, but honestly, just worry about the smile line part first. And then if you need a little tiny bead to fill in the cuticle afterwards, definitely take that route. Excuse the lighting change. I was taking forever to do this set, but now I'm just using a hand file to kind of define the shape that I tried to make with the acrylic. Today is a whole video of what not to skip, so definitely don't skip the step of filing out the shape before you lay your next color, because if you do that, it's not going to be an even line. But as you can see now, I'm just taking the black, which is the color I chose to have my fringe tip be, and I just kind of like mushed it into the smile line, and I'm just carrying it down the length of the nail. Don't worry if you get your fringe color on your smile line color, you're gonna file that away later, so don't even worry about that. Make sure you're filling in the space in between the fringe color and the smile line color. Also, don't ask me why I use so many beads, because honestly, rewatching this, I don't know why, and that's why it took me so long, and I just made it so hard on myself, and again, I really don't know why. Okay, so now I gotta file my nail cutout so that way it'll be nice and straight before I put the acrylic right there. And then I gotta dust it away so that way there's no dust like inside of my acrylic when I lay it. Side note, for the black acrylic, I use Black Market by Glam and Glitz. And then for this colored, like really super beautiful glitter acrylic, I'm using Beetlejuice by Secret Nail Affair. It's in their like Halloween collection. For this step, I wanted the glitter to be really prominent and opaque, so that's why I was going kind of slow with it, and I didn't want to just do one small bead and kind of like spread the glitter out. I wanted it to look like super dense. And since I'm being so heavy with the acrylic on an already thick tip, my focus is like really pushing down the sides just to keep my shape nice and defined. I don't like thick wide nails. Now I'm going in with my fine carbide safety bit. I probably had my e-file at probably like 10 or 11,000 RPMs. I'm just removing any of the black acrylic that was like on top of the smile line, just so that way I can have it nice and defined before I cap this with clear. And as you saw, I kind of laid the acrylic kind of lumpy bumpy, you know, so I'm also kind of getting that nice and smooth again before I put the clear on to make it an easier process. Again, my friends, please do not skip this step, because if you put clear acrylic on top of whatever you created without filing it, it will stay that way and it will not go away. So if you got black all up inside your nude, then it's just gonna stay there. So you need to perfect it before you put the clear on top. And then of course, dust, because you can't have dust inside of your acrylic. That is not cute. You will see it through, especially when you're using clear. And when you're capping, or shall I say encapsulating any type of nail design, whether it be French tips, glitter acrylic, whatever, you have decals, you always want to use crystal clear acrylic. They have like natural clear, and then they have crystal clear. You always want to use crystal clear. And then in the previous step, when I was making the fringe, I wasn't too focused on the structure of the nail. I just kind of wanted the fringe to look nice. So now that I'm laying the clear, I'm not doing necessarily a thin coat of clear acrylic on top. I'm definitely building my apex and filling in any gaps that I might have had and making sure my cuticle is nice and secure. Okay, so I normally do both hands at the same time, but being that, like I said, I've never done French tip on myself, I kind of just wanted to see if I could do it before I fully committed to it. So now I'm going in with the same process on my right hand that I did on my left hand. I pushed on my cuticles. I'm cleaning out any dirt, dust, debris from my free edge. Now I'm going in with the fine sanding band on my natural nail plate. And you know, I'm going a little wonky just because I'm using my left hand and I am a right-handed lady. But like I said earlier, you want to go nice and gently on this step just to remove the shine from the nail bed. And then I go around the cuticle just to remove any excess cuticle on the nail plates. Say it with me now. Dust. So I didn't say this earlier, but when I double tip, I like to go in with one size smaller than the size that I used on my nail bed. So for example, my pinky is a number 8. So I'll put the number 8 on my nail bed, but to double tip, I'm going to use the number 9. To me personally, I feel like it just fits perfectly and you just have such a smooth surface instead of it being wider at the top. It's way less filing for me. If you ever notice that your tip is separating from your nail bed a little bit after you glued it on, you can definitely just add a little dollop of glue in between just to make sure it's fully secure before you lay the acrylic. Also, yes, it's daytime again because I waited until the next day to do my other hand. And yes, I know y'all saw me glue my tips on, but I just wanted to show y'all how I do it with my long nails when I have nails on versus how I do it with no nails. Boom, bam, same process once they're double tipped. And now I just want to cut them. But now, of course, I have something to compare them to. Now I just go in with the hand file on my other hand. You already know we're trying to hit that 80% perfect mark. Now, I will say when you're doing square nails, you definitely want to make sure you're holding the file straight. Like, make sure it is parallel with the nail. And you got to realize that the shape is coming from, like, your cuticle all the way up to the tip. Like, forget the beginning of the sidewall or where the free edge and the tip meets. Like, no, like, from your cuticle to the tip needs to be straight. So you got to hold that file super, super, super straight. And again, we are dusting. A dusting brush will be your best friend. Now we're going back in with the nail prep slash dehydrator slash bonder, you know, whatever you want to call it. And then after this, you already know we're about to go in with the Young Nails Protein Bond. And as I said, I like to do 2 glorious coats just to make sure my nails are stuck. There will be no lifting, no cracking, none of that. Alrighty, once the nails are prepped and primed, we can go back in with the acrylic. So I'm literally doing the exact same process. I'm taking a large bead of acrylic, placing it on the nail bed, and then I'm just trying to like form the shape that I want my smile line to be. I was gonna say I felt like a pro, so I decided to do all 5 fingers at the same time, but that's genuinely a lie. I felt the opposite from a pro. Hence why I decided to do all 5 fingers at the same time. I just felt like I was taking too long on this freaking set. This was day 2, like I said, so this time I did it properly and did not try to play myself. I just did the 1 bead, kind of got the shape, kind of, but then I took a super tiny bead and I put that in my cuticle so that way I could fill the cuticle without trying to do it all in 1 bead. And then you're gonna see me later take another bead and put it at the very tip of that nail just to like get a better smile line shape. Okay, you can see me kind of wait a little bit before I try to mold it just because I wanted it to set a little bit more, get a little bit more tacky, not so wet, so that way I could try to get a better shape. Not even gonna lie, this thumb had me on the struggle bus, baby. Let me tell you, the bead was too small. I focused too much on the cuticle at first. Okay, like I said, we need to focus on this shape. Do not be like me. Do not focus on the cuticle. But anyways, so now I'm just waiting for my fingers to dry so that way I can file them. You need to patiently wait, okay? You see my fingers tapping and waiting, and now we're filing. All right, I kind of jumped right into it, partially because I was out the frame for like half of this hand. Honestly, like the majority of this video, I was out the frame. And because I feel like you kind of get the gist, you know, you pick up a black bead or whatever color you want your fringe to be. Your first priority is to fill the gap in between the smile line and your new color. And then after that, you just drag the bead down. All right, so when you're using this knife to do any type of cut nails, whether it be like a side cut, the type of cut I'm doing, V cut, you always want to put a little bit of monomer on it just so that way when you're cutting it, the acrylic does not stick to the knife, and also so the knife does not get stuck. If you saw when I did it, it was still a little bit too wet. You want to wait until the acrylic looks matte before you cut into it, so that way it'll cut and be like a super straight line. All right, so now we're gonna file the cut so it can be super straight. And again, for like any type of cut now, side cut, V cut, you always want to file it first before you fill the acrylic in, just so that way it's super defined and super straight. Okay, so again, same process. I'm taking the Beetlejuice acrylic to fill in the clear part, and then again, I'm going like a little bit heavier on the bead than I should, just because I want it to be super opaque and super sparkly. So now I'm going back in with my e-file and my fine carbide safety bit just to remove all the black, like I said, that overlaps on top of your smile line. Definitely want to get all that gone before you cap it with the clear acrylic. Again, do not forget, do not skip this step. And I know you saw me focusing the e-file around my cuticle, but as you know, I was doing my right hand and I am right-handed. So with me doing this design that I've like never done on myself with my left hand, it definitely again was a little lumpy bumpy, so I definitely had to get those gone. You should know what time it is by now. Dust, dust, dust. Now we have to encapsulate those Frenchies with the crystal clear acrylic. Again, crystal clear. Honestly, I was just admiring my nails at this point and thanking God that we are nearing the completion of this set 2 days later. But as you can see, I'm taking my handy dandy hand file and I'm just defining that shape, you know, that 80% shape that we had. I feel like putting the acrylic on probably brought it to a good like 75%. So I'm just using my hand file to bring it back to like a 90% before I go in with the E file. Whether it be right after you glue the tips on or after you put the acrylic on, when you hand file, the same rules apply when you're doing straight nails. Well, square nails, you definitely want to hold the file super, super straight. Also, after applying my acrylic, I like to file underneath the nails just to remove any acrylic that might have like slid down or dripped during the process of application. So that way it's super straight and smooth underneath and not bumpy. Alright, so now we're going back in with the fine carbide safety bit in the E-file. My E-file was still probably at like 11,000 RPMs. Now I'm just removing any excess clear acrylic, removing any of the bulk, filing down closer to the cuticle so that way it's a seamless blend between my cuticle and the start of the acrylic nail. Also, if you're wondering what that thing underneath my hands is, it's a dust collector. So when you're using like an E-file or a hand file, I just didn't use it earlier because I was being lazy. And this is where the bulk of my dust comes from, is when I'm filing them down before I, you know, put on my clear coat and stuff like that. So this just sucks up all the dust like a little vacuum. As you can see, it doesn't take all the dust because there's still a bunch of dust on my hands, but it honestly has helped so much. So, ladies and gents, after we file, we dust. If the dust brush isn't your best friend after this video, then the hand file definitely will be, because after you E-file, This is when you go back in with the hand file and you 100% define that shape. You get whatever shape you want. You define it, you make it crisp, you make it your perfect length. This is that step now. Okay, so after hand filing, this is when you would go in with your buffer. Your buffer just eliminates any of the scratches that you might have gotten on your nails from filing. It makes them super smooth, so that way when you're putting your polish on, it just glides seamlessly. So you definitely want to give yourself a good buffing job. I feel like it's a very important step. You could see my whole buffer turned white. This is how my hands look after they were buffed and filed right before I washed my hands. And then this is how they look once I come back. So I always wash my hands and then I go over with an alcohol wipe. I was sitting there debating on what design I wanted to do. And as you can see, I finally figured it out, kind of. In like 2 minutes, I have a more in-depth of me applying my rhinestones and showing you what adhesive I use. So I will talk about it when we get there. But right now, I'm just curing my hand in my LED lights. And now I am choosing some stickers that I want to apply to my fingers. I got these tweezers from Honey Nail Secret, and they're literally the best tweezers ever. Like, I love this little side that helps me push down the stickers, but they're also so thin that it's so easy to pick up stuff. I love them. Applying stickers to yourself is definitely not the easiest task, I will say. So you'll see me struggling a little bit, but it's okay. You know, this whole video is about struggling and then finessing at the end, overcoming the struggle. So I just spelled out the word sinister. You know, of course, it is spooky season, so why would I not do a spooky set? Now, honestly, I'm just choosing a plethora of stickers that I want to apply all over the French tip. That's the design that I came up with. The majority of these stickers are glow in the dark, so that takes the set to an extra level, and I love them, but you'll see that at the end of the video. But alright, you get the gist. Basically, I just find the sticker that I feel like will fit in that spot, you know, that represents me and spooky season in some way. Apply the sticker using the tweezer side of the tweezers, and then I use the little pink side to like smush it down and make sure it's super secure. And that is that. So I'm gonna go ahead and let the music ride out. You guys get it? So guess who waited until the next day to finish the other hand? I did. If you can't tell, the lighting has changed. The natural sunlight is back. But anyway, besides the point, day 3 is going strong. I'm going in with my Honey Nail Secret Gym Gel, and I'm just applying that to the areas that I want to apply my rhinestones, and then I'm just going in with the proper rhinestones in the spot that I applied the gym gel. And then after that, you're going to cure your hand for 60 seconds. Honestly, y'all are never gonna guess what I did, but I never finished this set. I applied the rhinestones to my right hand. I never went back in with the stickers, but it's totally fine. I just want to say thank you so much for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope I was able to entertain you a little bit. I hope you learned a little some. Stay tuned for more videos. I just revamped my whole freaking nail room, so I definitely am gonna have a tour of that coming out soon. I got my website out now, www.kroselle.com. Definitely slide over there, get you some press-ons, book your appointments. You know, again, stay tuned. We got big things coming this time around. Also, stay tuned till the end of this video because, of course, you guys see how the finished look turns out. Me and my glow-in-the-dark stickers. Excuse the format change. These are definitely like Instagram videos, but you know, they look good, so it's fine.